Alrighty, guys, I'm going to show you how to set up your trade from the AI Crypto Scanner a little more professionally. Um, Obviously, the other video takes you through how to actually place the trade. There are a couple of more advanced things we can do with this trade so that it can close out a portion of the trade once it's in good profit, and we can also add a trailing stop loss to protect our profit. And what I mean by that is if we look at this trade here, the trade was placed here on this line, like it was actually placed right back here. And this is where the stop loss was placed. And the take profit is way up here. So this is a very, very large risk to reward ratio. So it's potentially a very good trade. And what we can see has happened here is the market has gone up into really good profit and then retraced right back down to here. It's going up again now, so it could still all work out fine. But what we're going to talk about here now is the trailing stop loss feature. And what can happen is the market can come all the way up. It might go all the way up to here while you're sleeping and not quite hit your take profit. And then it could retrace all the way down here and end up hitting your stop loss. That's what we're going to try and avoid with the trailing stop loss. I mean, if you're watching your trade, you can decide to close it out here and make good profit, but you're not always watching your trade. So what we're going to do is we're going to add a trailing stop loss, and what that's going to do is once the market gets to, let's say here somewhere, to a set market margin, the stop loss is automatically going to move up above the entry price and then start following along behind the market. All right. So as soon as a trailing stop loss activates, that means you can no longer take a loss on that trade. So trade might go into big profit and then retrace back here and you take a loss on your stop loss. But in this scenario, using a trailing stop loss, the market will move up, get to here somewhere, and the trailing stop loss will activate, which means this stop loss will automatically move up like that. And then if the market retraces and hits it, you still take a little tiny profit. Not as good as a big profit you're in here, but a lot better than taking a loss. And then what happens if it activated here? Then as the market moves up further, the trailing stop loss will follow along at this same set distance. So the higher the market goes, the higher that trailing stop loss goes. And then if it retraces and hits it, you'll take whatever profit is available at that stop loss level. All right, so hopefully you understand what a trailing stop loss is and why we're using it. To add it, we just need to find the trade, and under the trailing stop loss column, you can just scroll along to see extra columns that you might not have visible. We just click add trailing stop. So it tells us our entry price, what the current market price is. Don't worry about that too much. You need to put in a dollar value here, and that's the price that it's going to tag along behind on. So let me show you how to calculate that. If we have a look at the current market price, which is just here, it's at 2.5047. Let's just, for ease of making a video, call that 2.5, so $2.50. And if that's where we want the trailing stop loss to activate at, that's why we're taking that price. It's not because it's the market price. It's because this is the level, we might want it to activate at this level. That would be 2.6. but we're going to call it 2.5 because that's roughly halfway through that big move we had. 2.5, and the entry price was 2.3. All right, so 2.5 minus 2.3 is a 20-cent difference. Okay, so when we're adding the trailing stop loss, what we're going to be adding in here is a 20-cent retracement. And what that means is if the market retraces by 20 cents, so let's say it gets up to $2.80, if it retraces down to $2.60, that's where it's going to hit the trailing stop loss. You can also set an activation price. I'm not going to do that here, but what I'm going to show you what that means is that you might have it activate right up here at $2.80, but it's still going to place a stop loss 20 cents below that. That way you can ensure, like at the moment, if I hit my trailing stop loss, it would be a very tiny profit, hardly worth taking, but a lot better than a loss, but hardly worth taking. But if we set an activation price of right up here, when that trailing stop activates, it would start about here, meaning it's a decent little bit of a profit. Anyway, that's what a trailing stop loss is. The other feature that we're going to talk about now is a partial close. All right, so at the moment, on this basic trade setup, we're not making any profit until we hit our take profit, which is right up here. If we hit this take profit, we take a really big profit, and that's awesome. But as we can see, it didn't quite make that. It got 3/4 of the way there and then came right back down again. It could be going up again now, but the point is, if you see your trade in this, and this would have been really good profit last night while I was sleeping, but then by the time I woke up this morning, it was right back down here. So you've missed out on a lot of profit. So what we can do is we can set this up so that when the market gets to here, it closes some of the trade. Let's say it closes 50% of the trade. And then if it retraces and hits our stop loss, at least we made some really good profit up here. So like even with our trailing stop at the moment, if it goes up, activates the trailing stop, comes down and hits our trailing stop, we haven't taken a loss, but we've hardly made any profit at all. And we were in really big profit at one stage. So we can set a partial close so that it's going to close half of our trade when we get to here. Then if it hits our trailing stop loss down here, we've still taken some pretty good profit, enough profit to be worthwhile. So I'm going to show you how to set that up now. Alrighty, so based off this one as well, we're going to set it up so that if the market reaches this point here, it's going to close out 50% of the trade. All right. So we're just going to come down here and we're going to find our take profit stop loss section. And we're going to click on edit. The bottom half is all about the stop loss. The top half here is all about the take profit. So we're going to look at that now. What we're looking at now is it's going to close the entire position when it gets to the take profit line, which is set at a value of 3.1188. And if it gets all the way up there, that will be a 354% profit on that one trade. So this is a potentially really good trade. But we're going to, for now, we're going to set it at a partial position. Now, because all of these signals are set up to be medium-term trades, they're not intraday trades. Most of the time, they'll take more than just a few hours to play out. which is different to the Forex copy trading. For example, this ZRO trade that I've got going here, it's been open for about 4 days now, and it's just done this. It's done nothing for 4 days. It's just been a little bit of profit, a little bit of loss, a little bit of profit, a little bit of loss for 4 days. And just last night it made its move, and it's now in 45% profit. So we can set it up so that it's going to close half of the trade right here. And how we're going to do that is we just need to know the price level. So right there is $2.70. All right, so we're going to set it up to close out 50% of the trade when the market reaches $2.70. So we'll click on the edit for the take profit stop loss. We're going to change it from an entire position to a partial position. And quantity is how much. So you can set the exact number of MOVR tokens you want to close, or much easier, we'll just set it at 50% of our trade. You might want to do 25 or 75. That's totally up to you. You can experiment with what works best for you. So now it's going to close half of them. And now we need to set the price that we want them to close at. And we've just determined that to be $2.70. Now, if we get to there, the trade will be an $170 profit. So still an extremely good profit. We're only going to be closing half of our trades there, though. So for the whole trade overall, we're sort of only making half of that as a percentage, but we'd still have half of the trade open. So, for example, if we went up and we closed half of the trade here at $2.70, and then it retraced down here and hit our stop loss, which is in tiny profit, the trade as a whole would make about on the spot, can't do my math. It would make about $86 profit. All right, so definitely worthwhile, So that's set up there now like that. And I just need to click confirm. And now we have our partial trade close just here. And we still have our full trade close here. So if we click on edit again now, we'll see we have an entire position close set up right up here. And then under partial, we have a partial close position set up here. And then we have the stop loss down there. So now this trade, as this trade stands right now, if I'd have set this up like this last night, I would have taken big profit here. The market would have retraced, didn't hit my trailing stop, and now it's going up again. It would have been great. At the moment, I'm in 83% profit, so still really, really good. And what you can decide to do yourself, personal decision, if you want to make sure you don't miss out on that nice 84% profit. And let's face it, an 84% profit trade is worth taking. You can just come across here to where it says close by, and we'll click market, and then that will close that trade here, and you would take 82% profit. But I'm not going to do that. I'm going to leave it how I've got it set up now. Now, hopefully this market continues up, and I'll take a partial close there, and then it'll keep going up here and it'll close the other half right up here. So now you've essentially set up a take profit 1 and a take profit 2 to automatically close out as you go up. But worst case scenario, the market goes down. I can no longer take a loss on this trade. This is a risk. When I say a trade's risk-free now, that's what I mean. The stop loss is above the entry point. So it's risk-free. I can't take a loss on that one. And even if you haven't set up a partial close or a trailing stop, you can, this stop loss was originally there. You can just have a look and see, oh, I'm in really good profit and it's formed some support there. You can just click here and you can just drag it up above the entry point. And now you can no longer take a loss on that trade. So that's a way you can manually do it if you wish as well. All right, guys, that's all I wanted to go through. Yeah, just other ways that you can. So the signals are giving you the entry points, the stop loss, and the take profit. But then managing that trade once it opened is still up to you. And these are some of the more advanced management techniques that you can use, management setups to make it, either manually managed or semi-auto managed by putting in the trailing stop and the partial close. Anyway, this is what I love about trading is you get a trade like this and you set it all up. It's completely risk-free, so I have no financial risk on this trade at all now. And it could potentially, go right up to that stop loss right up here. And that's a 350 something % profit, at least on half of the trade. All right, guys, I hope that helps. Talk to you soon.